Hello, my name is Joanne Seward, and I'm the Technical Services Librarian at the Oak Creek Public Library. Thank you for joining me for this video, Intro to Outlook. You're probably comfortable with the basics of email, such as sending and receiving email messages. Most workplaces use either the Google Suite or have Microsoft Office, which includes Outlook, for their email services. Did you know that Outlook has several additional features that can enhance your everyday life? Whether you use Outlook at work or at home, it is important to have a better understanding of its different features. So the objectives, and this is what we're going to focus on specifically in this video. We're going to learn basic navigation skills to effectively use the Microsoft Outlook program. We're going to create an email signature. We're going to learn how to organize your contacts, folders, and messages. And then lastly, we'll add new appointments/meetings in the calendar and then create a task. Okay, so the very first thing that we need to do is open Microsoft Outlook. To do so, we can go to the Start menu down here at the very bottom left-hand corner, click once on Start, and then we can click on this All Apps symbol right here. And this will show us a complete list of everything that is installed on this computer. So for Outlook, we just want to scroll down to the O's. And here we go. So we're using Outlook 2016. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Outlook 2016. Depending on your computer, if you're at work or if you're at home, you may have to sign in at this point. It might ask you for your email and your password. It just depends how you have it set up. So in this case, it already has it set up to remember that this is my account. And so it's already showing it right here. So there we go. Okay. As opposed to other Microsoft Office products, I just want to point out that there's no startup screen with Outlook. So if you opened like Microsoft Word or Excel, PowerPoint, etc., it would give you a startup screen where you can kind of choose what you want to do, create like a new document or a new spreadsheet or use a template, etc. But with Outlook, it actually just throws us right into our inbox right away. So that's where we are right here. You can see it says inbox. I also want to just point out the ribbon just as a kind of reminder. So remember the ribbon for all of the Microsoft Office products. The ribbon is this section going across the top of the screen right here, all the way across the top. And this is where the majority of our options are. So this is important to note. Remember that in the ribbon, we have tabs. So the very first tab is File, and then we have Home, Send, Receive, Folder, and View is the last tab. Within these tabs, there are groups. So at the bottom of the ribbon, you can see the name of the group. So the very first group in Home is the New group. So there's New Email and New Items. The next group is Delete. The next group is Respond. The next group is Quick Steps, etc., etc., etc. So the ribbon is the overall, the tabs kind of split up similar functions, and then the groups split it down even further for more similar functions together. Okay, so that's just kind of a quick review of the ribbon. So let's talk about the rest of the parts of the window. So let's start with on the left-hand side over here, we have, this is called the Folder Navigation Pane. So basically this is going to show you what your folder is in, what folder you're in currently. So that'll be in gray right there. And it also shows you the number of emails in that inbox or in that folder, I'm sorry, that are unread. So in this case, in our inbox, we have 2 emails that are currently unread. And I'm focusing on the unread part of this because you could have 5,000 emails in your inbox, but only 2 of them you haven't read so far. So just keep in mind, this is not every single email that you have in there. This is just the number that are unread are the ones that are going to be kind of this highlighted blue color. This is the message list area, so a little farther over to the right. So these are the actual messages that are in those folders. On the right-hand side, this is considered the reading pane. So this shows you the actual message that is selected. So it'll show you who it's from, when it's from, the actual, body of the message, et cetera, et cetera. Let's go to the bottom right corner right here. This is the zoom. The zoom function, it only increases or decreases the reading pane right here. So if I click on the plus sign, It zooms in the text. You can see now I'm at 140%, so you can see this a little bit larger. Go farther. Now I'm at 180%, and you can see that larger. If I click on the minus sign, then it'll zoom back out, and we're back at 100%, which is the normal reading view is what they consider. So feel free to adjust that zoom when you're using this at any point if you want to increase the size of the reading pane right there. All right, and then over here on the left-hand side, you'll often see these little symbols right here, or you might say actual, instead of like a little folder, it might say mail, and then calendar, et cetera, et cetera. So these are the different views that you have in Outlook, which we'll talk about in, we'll get into more detail as we go on, okay? All right. So some simple viewing tips that you might want to keep in mind. The first thing is working with the folders over here on the left-hand side. So if you ever see a small black arrow to the left of the folder, that means that there are additional folders within that folder, aka subfolders are what these are considered. So if I click on this arrow, those subfolders look like they disappear, right? You can't see that long list of them anymore. So keep that in mind that if you can't see a certain folder, it may just because this list is collapsed or uncollapsed, as the case may be. So if I just click on that arrow again, there are all of my folders, drafts, sent mails, trash, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. The next thing to keep in mind is changing these navigation view options. So down here at this bottom left corner, these little symbols that I just pointed out, if you click on the little dots, these little dot, dot, dot right there, and it gives us navigation options. If I click on that, this window pops up and I can choose, I got a little bit of flexibility. So right now it says compact navigation. Compact navigation means that these are symbols instead of words. So if you don't like that these are symbols and you want them to actually be words, if you uncheck that, then this will change into actual words. The other thing that's kind of nice is you can change the order that they're going to display in. So if you don't want tasks to be, the second thing, you could do move down. And let's say you want it after people. So I'm going to move it down again. So now I have mail, calendar, people, and tasks. So you can change this order by clicking on the view and then using move up or move down and having it where you want. And then lastly, this maximum number of visible items means the amount of words or symbols that are going to appear here. So usually 4 is what I leave it at because the main things I use are mail, calendar, people, and tasks. I don't tend to use these other 3. But if you wanted to see all of these, then you would want to change it to 7 so you could see all of these listed. So that's totally up to you. All right, but I'm going to leave it like that and I'm going to click OK. And then calendar, people, and then tasks is last because that's what I just moved it to. All right, if I need to quickly move or mark an email as unread. So let's say I have this email selected and if I click and go to a different folder, now you can see my inbox says 1. If I go back, that's because this one now is marked as read yes, as read. If I click on this one, and then click off of it. Now this one is marked as read. So basically if you are selected on it, that's how you eventually it will go to being read. So let's say I wanted to change these though back to unread. Sometimes I do that if I accidentally clicked on an email and I didn't really mean to look at it at that exact moment and I went to another one, then I want to go back and change it to being unread to make sure that my attention is still going to be focused on that later on. So you can very quickly mark these as unread by right-clicking on them and changing it to mark as unread. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one, mark as unread. So now I have both of these are highlighted blue again. And then over here in the inbox, it's gone back to 2 because both of those are unread now. Lastly, if you want to open an email in a separate window, so you don't want to have it over here in the reading pane, the easiest way to do it is actually to double click on this. So if I double click on the email right here, so where it says shift change, for example, if I double click, there we go. So now it's its own separate window. So sometimes I do that and then I'll move the window if I need to kind of get it out of the way and then maybe look at something over here on the side instead. So it just depends on how you use your email basically. And you can reply, you can delete it in here, you can do all the same actions as you would from, over here. It's just in a separate window right now. So I'm going to click on the X to close out of this because I don't really need it to be a separate window. Okay, so those are kind of just some simple viewing tips and kind of different things to consider. All right, so the very first thing that we are going to tackle is creating an email signature. So much like my email signature down here at the bottom of my email, so you can see I sent this, Joanne Seward. So I have my position right here, where I work, the phone number, the address, all that kind of good stuff. These are actually pictures. For some reason, they don't want to display. This is the logo of the Oak Creek Library. So what are you going to do? All right, so every single time I send an email, though, I have this email signature. It's not something that I have to type every single time because that would get kind of tedious. So we're going to talk about how to create an email signature. The first thing we have to do is go to the File tab. So up at the very top left corner, I'm going to click on File. And then over here on the left-hand side, I'm going to go to Options down here. And there's lots of different options in here that you can access, but we're just going to do the signature for right now. So I'm going to click on Mail. And underneath this Compose Messages section, there is Signatures. So if I click on Signatures, it brings up the signatures and stationery. I have never used the personal stationery, so we're just going to stick to the email signatures for today. Okay. So because there's no signature here, I haven't done one at all, we have to click on New. And you can just type in whatever kind of name that you want for this signature. I'm just going to keep it basic and just do work. So any work email that I send, I want this signature. So we're going to click OK. All right. So now underneath the Edit Signature heading is where you want to actually type in what you want the signature to be. So I'm going to click in this text box down here, and you can see my flashing cursor now has popped up. So before we start typing, I'm going to make some changes. The first thing is I know that I don't want Calibri body, so I'm going to click on the down arrow to the right. I'm going to do something cool. If I type in the letter H, it's going to take me to the very first H in this menu. And in this case, I've used this before. So it has the Harlow Solid Italic, or if you scroll down, you can see there's a huge long list of all of these different fonts. There we go. If I keep going, there we go. Harlow Solid Italic. So if I click on there, I like the Harlow Solid Italic because it looks like a signature and it's easy enough for people to read, in my opinion. So that's why I usually choose that one. All right. So we changed the font. The next thing I'm going to do is change the size because 11 is a little bit small, in my opinion, for an actual signature to look like a signature. So I'm going to click on the down arrow to the right of 11, and I'm going to choose 18 instead. And now I'm going to type in my name. So Joanne Seward. There we go. So you can see it kind of looks like a little bit like I actually signed it. So I'm going to press the Enter key to move down to the next line. And now I want to change the font again. So I'm going to go back up to this Harlow Solid Italic, click on there, and I'm going to change it to Tahoma. Once again, I just know that this is the font that I want. We're going to change the size because it needs to be a little bit smaller than my actual signature. The signature is the part that you want. Your actual name is the part that you want to stand out. So I'm going to choose 12, seems appropriate. And I'm going to type in the address, 8040 South 6th Street. And then I'm going to press Enter, type in the rest of the address. There we go. Okay, so now underneath here, I want to put the phone number. So I want the phone number to stand out a little bit more, so I'm actually going to change the color of it. So where it says automatic right now, I'm going to click on there, and here are your different colors that you can choose from. You can always go to more colors. So like if you want pink and it's not in here, you can choose more colors. But we're just going to do green, just keep it kind of simple. So I'm going to click on green, and now I'm going to type in the phone number. There we go. And then I'm going to press Enter again. Okay, so the last part of our signature that we're going to do is we're going to actually add in a hyperlink. So for those of you who don't know, a hyperlink, or a link for short, is basically something that somebody can click on and it will take them to a specific website or web page. So in this case, since I work at the Oak Creek Library, I want it to link to the Oak Creek Library's website. That makes sense. So in order to do so, I'm where I want the hyperlink to be. There's that little flashing cursor right there. And I'm going to click on, this is the hyperlink symbol that has kind of like a little globe and then a little chain link kind of symbol. So I'm going to click on there. And we're going to type in first this text to display. So we're going to type in, we want it to say Oak Creek Public Library. Okay. And then the most important part of this is the address. So the address is what the actual website address is. So in this case, there we go, oakcreeklibrary.org. So it just remembers that I've done this before. Otherwise, you'll have to type in the exact thing. Be very, very careful about this, because if you miss like an E, if you miss a number, if you miss a punctuation, anything like that in here, then it's not going to work. So make sure that this is 100% spelled correctly. Okay. All right. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to click OK. And now you can see in blue, it says Oak Creek Public Library. So that's how you, and it's kind of underlined. So that's how you know that that right there is a hyperlink, or a link for short. All right. So now that I have this all set up, I want to click on Save. And then over here, I just want to point out right now, so the email account that I'm using is actually a Gmail account. So you can have different email accounts that you have kind of forwarded through Outlook. It's not the easiest thing to do. If you want to do something like that, if you want to use like your Yahoo or your Gmail or Hotmail or whatever account, and you want to use it through the Outlook software, my best recommendation would be to go to Google and search how to, have your Yahoo email open in Outlook, and then you'll be able to get the steps from there. Okay, but what I want to really point out right here is right now it's saying new messages will have the work signature, which is great. That's what I want. Right now, though, replies/forwards is set to none. And I actually want my signature to show up every time that I send an email. So if it's a new message or if it's a reply or a forward, I still want my name and all of this information to appear. So that's why I just changed it right here using the down arrow to work. Okay. And you could have a different reply forward messages. So I could create like a new one, and I could create a different version of this if I wanted, and then set the reply forward to just that. So you can kind of mix and match a little bit. All right, so once you have it all set the way you want, click OK. And then we have to click OK in the options box. And then it never hurts to test it out. So I'm going to do just a new email up here at the top left corner. And there it is. There is my email signature with my link right there to the Oak Creek Library. See? All right, so it worked. Hooray. So I'm going to click on the X to close out of it. So that's creating a email signature. Okay. The next thing we're going to tackle is contacts. So how to add people and groups. So down here at the bottom left-hand corner are different views. So right now we're in mail. We're going to go to people. And as of this exact second, I don't have any people added. If you work in a business, like a big business, then you probably have people automatically through like a global contact list. And you don't have to worry about it as much. Here at the Oak Creek Library, I don't have to add anybody that I work with. I only have to add people that are outside of the city of Oak Creek. So if there's somebody that I'm working like a bookseller and I'm working back and forth with them, then I'm going to add them as a new contact, for example. So in order to add somebody as a new contact, speaking of, we're going to go up here at the top left-hand corner in the Home tab in the New group and click on New Contact. And we get this big untitled contact card, I'm going to call it. And this is where we can enter in as much information about the person or as little as you really want. So the full name, we're going to start with that. We're going to go with Kevin Smith. And the company, we're going to do Oak Creek Public Library. And then we have to do the email. And you could do a job title as well. You can, how they have it filed as, you can change that. And the filed as is how it would display right here. So that's up to you how you want to have it. So in this case, it would be under S because that's their last name. So we're going to type in their email address, ksmith@oakcreekwi.org. And then if I click underneath the display as, then you'll see this is what's going to show up. So if I do a new email and in the to field, I start typing in Kevin, this is going to pop up just like this, Kevin Smith, and then parentheses ksmith@oakcreekwi.org. If you don't want all of that, like maybe if you just want his name, you could use backspace and do that. Or if you want to change it to some kind of weird abbreviation, you could K-Dog, that's his nickname. I don't know. But you can do whatever you want to do. All right. And then the last thing that we're going to do in here is add the phone number. So underneath business, we're going to type in his phone number, which is the general library number. I will add to, a lot of times, especially if the contact is outside of the city, in order to make it easier for myself, I add in the notes section, which I think is kind of an underrated field. But I put in here like how I knew them or when I last contacted them. So like for the bookseller example that I was talking about earlier, you know, I might put like, oh, I contacted them about audiobooks on, you know, August 2019. And that's the last contact I had with that person, or, you know, whatever. So the notes field can be quite useful, in my opinion. All right, so once you have all the information in here, we're going to click on Save and Close. And now you can see I actually have a contact. Yay! All right, so there is Kevin Smith. So if I need to edit this, like let's say that I realize the work number is incorrect, I can double click on his name. And you can see this little contact card, which is kind of an abbreviated version of what we saw before, will pop up. So this gives me only, you can see it only gives me a few fields like email, phone. It doesn't give me the full complete thing, which I will show you in just a second. But in this case, that's fine because I just need to edit this work number right here. So I'm going to click in here and use backspace to get rid of this. So it's still 414, but then we're doing this made up number. There we go. All right, and then just make sure that you click on save, otherwise it won't save those changes. All right, and then if I click on the X to close out of it, now you can see it's updated right there. Okay, if you need to edit like all of their details or need to get to some fields that you can't access, what you have to do is go to the little dot, I'm sorry. No, you want to click on this underneath View Source, click on Outlook Contacts, this computer only. There we go. And now you can see this is the full contact editing window with all of the different fields. And there's even additional ones that you can add in here. So there's lots of different info that you can put in here. Okay. All right, I'm going to close out of that. If you need to delete a contact, it's very simple. Just click on their name as it appears right here. And then you would click on delete right there. We're not going to because we added him and we're not going to delete him yet. He still is going to prove himself useful in just a second because we're going to add a contact group. So in order to add a group, so this is, let's say there are, there's a committee of people that you are working with for the next 6 months. And rather than having to type in 5 different people's email addresses every single time that you need to communicate with them, that's when a contact group is just going to be so much easier. So we are going to, I do this even with people that I work with, even though I have them in my contact groups already, sorry, not a contact group, but I have their contact info, you know, in here already. It's easier just to create a new contact group so that I don't have to type in at least the beginning of every single person's name in order to select their email. So I'm going to click on new contact group. And the first thing we want to do is give it a name. So in this case, let's call this the Friends of the Library group. Okay. All right, so now we need to add our members. So we're going to click on add members in the members group right here. So we have from Outlook contacts, from address book, and then there's the new email contact. Address book, it might say like global address book. It just depends, once again, on your business and kind of how large it is or not. So for this, we're going to do, because we created the contact of Kevin Smith in our Outlook, basically is the best way to think of it. We're going to click on this from Outlook contacts. You can see there he is. He's the only one. There you go. So if I double click on his name, it pops it down here in this members group. And then I can click on OK. And now you can see under the Friends of the Library, we have Kevin Smith right there. All right. If you need to, you can add additional members. So if I click on add members, and let's say I need to add somebody that isn't already a contact. So I can just do new email contact and then just type in some brief information. So Oak Creek Library. And Oak Creek Library, sorry, Oak Creek, we.org. No, what am I doing? There we go. That's the actual email address I meant. I'm not going to choose to add them to contacts right now, so I'm just going to leave that unchecked, and then I'm going to click OK. All right, and so now the Oak Creek Library email address is part of this group. So if I send an email to the Friends of the Library, both Kevin Smith and the library is going to be getting that email. So if I click on Save and Close, and now you can see the Friends of the Library pops up. You can tell it's different from an actual contact because the single person is just a head and shoulders, whereas the group, there's 3 heads and kind of shoulders. You see that? So that's how you know that this is a group rather than just an individual person. Okay. If you need to edit this, you can just double click on it. And then, if you need to remove somebody, you just click on their name and click on remove members. If you need to add additional members, click on add members, etc. And then when you're done, just make sure to do this save and close again. Okay. All right, so that's adding a contact, like an individual person, and then adding a group. Okay, let's go back to our mail, our actual inbox. There we go. And let's talk about how to create additional folders. So over here on the left-hand side, we're going to create some additional folders. Folders are nice to be able to kind of sort your email messages a little bit more. So rather than having your 5,000 emails in your inbox and then having to kind of go and sort through them to find the things that you need, you definitely want to create additional folders. So I have folders for my programs. I have a folder that just says important. I have a folder that is for computer classes specifically. I have a folder for tech tips. So, I mean, I have tons and tons of different folders so that I can then move these emails to those different folders. So at any given time, my inbox only has a handful of emails that I'm just kind of dealing with at that time. So you really don't want to have a whole lot of emails in your inbox at one time, typically. That's the goal anyways. Okay, so to create a new folder, what we're going to do is in our folder tab up here, we want to click on a new folder in the new group, the very first. So the very first thing we need to do is give it a name. So in this case, I want to name this, let's say resume. So any emails that I get that contain resumes or my resume or anything to do with a resume is going to go in this folder is the idea. I want to make sure, I want it to be just in the same kind of line as the inbox and all these other folders. So what I'm going to do is, right now, if I left it, it would actually go as a subfolder in the inbox because that's what's selected right now. So I want to click on my email address and then it'll go and line up with the inbox and the rest of these. You'll see in a second. So if I click OK, now you can see alphabetically, it just popped up right here. Here is resume. So there's nothing in it. There it is. Okay. All right. So if I want to create a subfolder, so like how Gmail has all of these subfolders under here, draft, sent mail, trash, etc. If I want to create a subfolder, we're going to follow the same steps as before. So we're going to go to the folder tab. We're going to click on new folder. We're going to give it a name. So let's do my resume. I don't know. And then I want it to be in the resume folder. So it's going to be a subfolder of the resume. So I just clicked and selected resume, and then I'm going to click OK. And now you can see there's that little black arrow because the my resume is now a subfolder. Okay, so it's a folder within a folder. All right. Okay, so now that we've created our folders, the important thing is how to move an email to that folder. So it's pretty easy. We're going to go and go back to our inbox, and we're going to click on the email that we want to move. So let's say it's this shift change one right here. So just make sure that's kind of highlighted blue. And then we're going to go to the home tab. And we're going to choose in the move group right here, we're going to click on move. And you can see a couple of folders pop up. If the folder that you want is not showing up here, then click on other folder, and then you'll see a complete list of everything in here. Okay. So I'm going to hit close to get out of that. So in this case, I want it to go to my, to just the resume folder, because it's not my resume, but it's other people's resume, I guess. I don't know. And so we're going to click on resume. That folder or that email disappeared. You always want to kind of double check. So I go back to my resume folder, and there it is. Sorry, just the resume folder, and there it is right there. Okay. If you need to delete a folder, like let's say the my resume folder, you're like, no, I don't really need that. If you click on there, the easiest way is to right click on it and choose delete folder. And then it asks you, do you want to delete it? And we say yes, bye-bye, and it's gone. And you can see there's no little black arrow to the left of resume, so that's how we know that we got rid of that subfolder. Okay. And you can delete emails you can delete folders like that, any folder. So it doesn't have to be a subfolder, it could just be a regular folder. You just right click and choose delete. There are some that you're not going to be able to, like the main, ones like the outbox and trash and all of that kind of stuff. But any that you create, you can definitely delete if you change your mind after the fact. All right, let's do a real quick kind of review of email etiquette, because surprisingly, this still comes up as an issue. So the first thing we're going to talk about is CC versus BCC. So I'm going to open a new email just so that you can see this kind of as we go along. Okay, so the to part of your email. So this is who the email is to. So let's say an example where I want to send an email to my boss, but I also want to send it to 5 of my other coworkers. To show kind of not reverence exactly, but to show that my boss is more important than my other coworkers. In the to field, I would type in my boss's email address. In the CC field, I would type in my other coworkers. Okay. If I'm sending, let's say I'm sending something to my direct supervisor and then my supervisor's supervisor, then I would put both of their names in to, because I'm once again showing them the same level of respect, I guess, is the way that I think of it. So those are kind of the to and the CC folder. You also have, or folder, the line, sorry. You also have BCC. So CC stands for carbon copy. Back in the days where you had 5 sheets of paper and you wrote something on the top and it kind of bled through to the bottom paper, and then you could tear them apart to give it to different people. We're getting past that point where we're not doing that stuff anymore, but it still means the same thing. So we have the CC, and then there's the BCC, which is blind carbon copy. So let's say I wanted to send an email to my boss, but without her knowing, I also want to send that email to 5 of my coworkers. So in the to, I would type my boss's email address, and in the BCC, I would type in my 5 coworkers. So my boss would never know that I sent that email. So it's kind of a little bit of a shady way of sending an email address without somebody, or sending an email to somebody without other people knowing about it, I guess. So up to you what you want to do. All right. Lastly, let's talk about reply versus reply all versus forward. So if I have an email that I got, and then I'm like, oh, do I want to do reply all, or forward? That's the big question. So reply is, it's only replying to the person that sent the email address. So in this case, this library@oakcreekwi.org, okay? Which is most of the time, honestly, that's what you want to do, is just reply. Reply all means that I'm going to reply to the person who sent the email, but any other people who were included. So in this case, the avid 123 reader plus another one. Here we go. Avid 456 reader. So I would be sending an email to both of these people, the avid 123 readers, me, sorry. So reply all will send that email to everyone that was originally involved in the original kind of send, basically. That's how kind of a lot of people get in trouble, is because a lot of people do reply all, and it's kind of unnecessary. So really think about it before you do reply all, because most of the time you're probably just going to want to do reply. And then lastly, we have forward. So forward is you don't want to respond to the person who sent it. You don't want to respond to anybody else who is involved. You want to forward it to somebody else. So it's somebody who was not originally involved in this email. So like, let's say I got this email and then I was like, actually this should go to my supervisor to see if this is okay if we do this shift change, for example. So I would click on forward. Click on forward. Okay, yes. And then I would type in her email address right there. And then she would receive that original message. There it is. Okay. I'm going to do discard because I don't want to do that at this exact second. But so those are a couple of email kind of etiquette things to keep in mind when you are sending emails. The next thing that we're going to work on is the calendar. So I use the calendar a lot personally. Down here at the bottom left-hand corner, we're going to go to the calendar view by clicking on calendar. And here is our view. You can change, like right now it's showing us the entire month of January. You can change this if you want. In the home tab in the arrange group, you could change it to adjust today. So let's say you had a really busy day with lots of appointments, then it would just show up at all, individual appointments right there. You could do work week. So that would be Monday through Friday. There it is. You could do the full week, which would be Sunday through Saturday. So including the weekend, which is usually what I do because I work on Saturdays sometimes. So I need the full week view. There's month, and then there is schedule view. I don't usually typically use the schedule view. So I think if you have multiple different calendars that you have, then schedule view is more useful at that point. So, all right, but I'm going to go back to the month just to kind of keep it the same. Okay, so let's talk about how to add an appointment or an event. So what you want to do is click on the day that it's going to occur. So let's say it's going to be February 1st. So if I click on there, didn't mean to have the whole thing pop up. Oops, I'll go back to month. There we go. Okay, once I'm in the day that I want the event to happen, I'm going to click on this new appointment right here. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is start with the subject. So let's say it's a doctor's appointment. There we go. And then we're going to go down to the location, and you can type in whatever location it's going to be. So in this case, let's say that my doctor is at 124th and Capitol. Sure. Okay. The next thing that we need to do is the start time. So what time is the appointment actually going to be at? So let's say it's 10 a.m. And then we need to change the end time. I don't know about you, but I've done to at least 1 hour. So we'll say 10 to 11. Okay. If it's an all-day event, you just click on this little check mark next to all day, and then you don't have to put a time. It'll just set it as the entire day is going to be your doctor's appointment or whatever it is. And then underneath here, there is this huge open area, and this is where you can type in any kind of additional notes that you want, which once again, I find to be useful. So I'm going to type in bring insurance card just as a reminder. There we go. All right. Okay, so the other thing that I want to do is set a reminder. So in the options tab right now, the reminder, the default is usually 15 minutes. For me, that's not enough time to get to 124th and Capitol. So if I click on the down arrow, I want to be reminded, let's give me an hour. So that's enough time to kind of pack up my stuff and get my car. And let's say it's snowing or something, or there's construction, it just gives me enough time. So make sure that you give yourself enough time to keep that in mind. So once you have that all set, you're going to click on save and close, and then it'll appear in your calendar on that date. So there you go, February 1st, 10 a.m., your doctor's appointment. Okay. So that's adding a single appointment or event. Now we're going to talk about how to add a reoccurring appointment or event. So we're going to go to the first day that the event occurs. Let's say we're going to do February 5th right here. So just like before, I'm going to click on that date, and then I'm going to click on new appointment. And we're going to do kind of the same steps that we did before. So let's say we're doing a staff meeting. And we're going to do the location is, let's say, room 120. So we're just putting in a specific room of the building. So the start time is 2 p.m., let's say. If you accidentally clicked on the wrong day, you can actually change the day in here. So, and you can also give it a different end day. Like, let's say it's a whole 3 days, then you could give it another, end time, sorry. Once again, I don't know if you've ever been to an appointment or a meeting where it's been only half hour. So let's change it to 3. So it's 1 hour. We're going to change the reminder time again in the options group. So we're going to change it to, let's do 30 minutes because it shouldn't take me more than 30 minutes to walk to, room 120, we hope. Okay. The next thing we're going to do to make it a reoccurring appointment in the options group, we're going to click on recurrence. And it's set for the time, which is what we already just set that to. So that's great. But now we have to do the pattern. So is it going to be every single day? Is it weekly? Is it monthly? Is it yearly? So those are the ones you want to set first. So let's say, yes, this is every week. And is it going to be every 1 week? Or is it going to be every other week? And so then you want to put 2 or every 3 weeks or 4, so you can change those options in here. And then what day of the week is it going to occur on? So in this case, it's a Friday. Yes, that's what I want it to be. So we're going to leave that where it is. So the last bit of this is there an end date? So are these meetings, weekly Friday meetings going to be for the rest of time? Or are you only doing it to a certain date? So let's say we are going to do it until, so we started at February 5th, and let's say it's going to go to the end last February Friday of the month, which is the 26th. So we'll say that. Okay. And then once you have all of that set the way that you want, click OK. And you can see this kind of reoccurrence pops up right here that we didn't see before. And now we can click on save and close. And now you can see here's February 5th. If I click on the arrow up here to change it to February, you can see the rest of February now. So the 12th, the 19th, and the 26th all have our 2 p.m. staff meeting. All right. The last thing that we're going to do with the calendar is add, the main thing we're going to do is adding a meeting. So everything we've been doing is just kind of like appointments. Meeting is when you actually invite somebody else to add it to their calendar. So once again, you want to click on the day that the meeting's going to occur. Let's say it's the 16th. There we go. And instead of new appointment, you want to click on new meeting. So in the to field is when you want to put in the person's email address. So whatever their email address is, that's what you want to type in. So let's say I'm inviting the library. There we go. And you want to give it a subject of some kind. Let's say it's a training session. Oops. And you want to put in the location. Let's do Lake Vista Conference Room. Once again, you want to do a start time. So just kind of the same thing as an appointment now. Let's do 9 a.m. And let's say it's going until 5. It's going to be an all-day training session. There we go. I'm going to click in this composition box underneath, and I'm going to type in some notes. There we go. All right, we're going to set the reminder, and we're going to do 1 day. So 1 day before 9 a.m. on the 16th, they will get a reminder saying, both of us will get a reminder saying, hey, this training session is going to happen tomorrow. All right. So now that we have all of that set, we're going to click on send. All right, and you can see there it goes, and it has appeared. So what will happen now is whoever you sent this meeting invite to will get a little email kind of in their inbox. doesn't look exactly like an email. It just kind of has the same kind of components. But it's basically saying like, hey, you got invited to this meeting, and then they can choose to accept or decline or add it to their calendar, etc. Okay. All right. So if you need to edit an appointment or event, the easiest way is just to double click on it. So if I double click on like this doctor's appointment, it opens it up, and then I can make any changes that I want to this. Like I could change the time. Actually, it's 10:30 now instead of 10. And then just make sure to do the save and close when you're done. To delete an appointment or event, you can right click on it and just choose delete. I'm not going to do that for this one, but let's say that's what we were going to do. Editing a reoccurring appointment is a little bit different. So like, let's say that this 12th, we're not meeting on the 12th for some reason. So if I right click on this and choose delete, it gives me two options this time. It has delete occurrence or delete series. Delete series will delete all of these dates, which is not what we want. So we want to do just delete occurrence, and it gets rid of the one on the 12th. So now we're just meeting on the 5th, the 19th, and the 26th. Okay. If you need to delete a meeting or edit a meeting, you can double click on it, and then you can make any changes that you need to make in here. And then you would click on send update. Or if you were canceling it, you would do cancel meeting. And then it would change, I believe it says like send cancellation is what it would say then. And then the person who was in the to field right there would get an email saying, hey, this has been canceled, remove it from your calendar, or, there's been an update, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So I'm going to close out of that. All right. And then the last thing for Outlook we're going to do real quick is the tasks. So down here, once again, in the different views, we covered mail, calendar, and people. The last one is tasks that we're going to talk about today. So tasks are tasks. They're different kind of things that you need to do. It's kind of like a to-do list, like it says right there. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start with creating a new task right away. So I'm going to go over here at the top left-hand corner and click on new task. And in the subject, that's what you want to actually type in what your task is. So let's say it's finish typing meeting notes. And sometimes I put in the subject, I put this ... like that as a little reminder that there's additional stuff in the subject field, because you might not always see that. So this little ... lets me know that I want to double click on this to see all of the details in here later. So, which I'll show you in a moment. So we want to start with when is the start date for this. So you want to select a date that you want to start it. So let's say that my meeting is not until the 29th, and then I don't need to have the meeting notes in until the 5th. So let's say I want to have it the 4th then. So that's when it should be done in order to, get it done by my due date. Okay. So the due date right there, we're going to change to the 5th. So that way I know it's due by the 5th right there. So I'm going to start it on the 4th, and then by the 5th, it should be done. The status, you want to keep probably as not started, but you can change it as you're going if you wanted. So in progress, you're waiting on somebody else, et cetera, et cetera. The priority you can change in here. So if you want it low or high, you can set it to high, whatever you want to do. You can change the % completed. So there's all these different kind of things that you can do. Let's say I want to give myself a reminder. So by the end of the day on Thursday, let's say by 4 p.m., if I don't have this done, I need to start working on it immediately. And then that reminder will actually pop up as like a little calendar, just like a little window will pop up at 4 p.m. on this date saying, hey, you needed to finish typing your meeting notes. All right. So last thing we're going to do. And we're going to type in this composition box. Let's see. Oops. There we go. And then we're going to do the save and close when we're all done. And there it is. Okay. And you can see it's got this little flag because it's flagged as important, very important. It's got that little flag right there. All right. So the task kind of gives you a list of any kind of different to-do things that you have. Okay. All right, so that was the intro to Outlook video. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at the library's email address, which is library@oakcreekwi.org. And I hope that you learned a couple of additional things and have a great day. All right, bye.